Previously on Follow the Leader.
Today we're playing A Diner at the End by Bamax Gaming. For those of you who are new to this game, here are the basics. You find yourself seated at a table among a group of people you have never met before, in a place that feels familiar. You've never been here, and yet the atmosphere is comforting, disarming. It feels a bit like home.
The character that I will be playing is Soul Hawk, uses she, her pronouns, and her look is that she is a broad butch woman with close cropped bleach blonde hair, tanned skin, and brown eyes. She's typically found wearing dark jeans and a biker jacket and always has a knife on her person.
I have meanwhile put forward Delta Capello from when I joined. For the look, it's stark black hair slicked back with light blue eyes and pale skin. He looks rested for the first time in his life, unlife, question mark. Sharply tailored white clothes wrapped in an open, unbelted black robe that reaches to the knees with a belt inset with colored gems which glint and reflect light. In this case, that robe is slung over his shoulder. He's off duty now. He's not worried about it.
I've got Atlas Bremer, he, him. My totally not Howl character, who has straight shoulder-length blonde hair with a thin angular frame and a hunched posture, colorful patchwork coat over a long-sleeve billowy white shirt, and black tight pants. I put medieval ? I always enjoyed those nights. Lots of dancing.
Dancing with Alaric.
Coughs on drink again.
There's some eyebrow work going on Delta's end. But they never could stay with you? Was there a particular reason for that they told you about? Or was it just kind of an unspoken something or other?
They make their money through traveling, selling stuff. You can't sell the same stuff to the same people in the same village forever. So, you gotta go around.
He'll nod his head. Yeah, I know a thing or two about the Roman life. Roman as in wandering, not Roman as in...
tenses up at okay.
Oh, you know the Romans.
They do love invading.
I think we are getting somewhere. I don't know if it's anywhere good, but we're certainly getting somewhere.
We now return to your game, already in progress.
Yeah, what was that? The Roman life, the wandering life, however you want to put it. I'll go ahead and snag another card.
Yeah.
This brings me to the Queen of Hearts. That's a tale of hope with a family member. Yeah, I tell you, I never had an easy life with my folks, but what is it? Distance lets the heart grow fonder? They were not fond of me when I was a kid and I didn't have my things under control, but I think it was just fear, mostly. Things that you don't understand kind of thing. But once I started to figure things out, and once I really started to get out and about and all of that, I don't know, I started getting letters almost. And at first I didn't realize they were coming through. They didn't really sign them or anything. But after a bit, once I got a comfortable distance away, they started putting the names on it, the return addresses and stuff. They'd moved out of the old family home, but... even if they've moved, I was moving a lot faster and a lot more frequently than they were. So, as I started getting into the actual profession of being a magician, and not the actual spellcasting kind, but the lights and shadows and mirrors kind, I don't know. I guess they started to realize that it could have been okay, almost. Like, we connected a lot more when I was actually adults and moving about than we ever did when we were sharing the same space together. So it was nice. I mean, even up until they actually passed, just gave me some hope, right? I could find someone, I could settle in, and I could maybe pass this on to someone else. Just give them an idea of how to get by in the world and take this sort of lesson that not everything's a straight path, not everything's all the way through. I don't know. People are surprisingly more capable of being accepting than I would have accepted or expected. And I'm just glad it happened eventually. I don't know. Kept me going on hard nights, quiet ones, not a lot of attendance. I kept the binder full of those letters, and he sort of pats around absently. I probably left it in my trailer, but kind of sappy if you think about it. That's good. Being able to keep a connection with folks, though.
That does sound ideal. Very nice.
Definitely not something that everyone has, to be fair, but
Yeah.
something that keeps you going. He sort of like muses on it. It sounds almost like the two of you ain't as connected to family. At least not that kind of family.
I got my sister.
That's good. Someone you can ride or die with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she faked her death once.
Were you aware of that?
No, not till a while later when she turned back up.
Oof. Yeah, it doesn't sound easy, I'm gonna be honest.
How would you go about faking your death?
Change your name, hide away in a different town, keep quiet and don't tell anyone who you used to be.
Oh. Atlas realizing that he may have faked his death.
Burn your place down and leave behind a husk of what used to be there.
Atlas realizing that he did not fake his death.
Making people think that you've actually bid it is kind of the key point.
I see.
Yeah. She sure did that. Listen, I don't care to talk about my family.
You may have to. We'll find out.
Yeah.
It ain't easy for everyone.
I drew the 9 of spades. 9 is fear. Spades is with a stranger. I don't care to talk about my family, but seeing as how we're all sharing, I remember first time I met my stepdad. And he's about the only good thing he did for me was bring Meryl into my life. Scary guy. Though maybe he was a role model of sorts, since I know I'm not exactly the least intimidating person in the room. But like I said, best thing he did was bring Meryl with him when he got with my mom.
Oof. He sort of like stirs his coffee a little bit. He's not quite sure how to get around that one. I look over to Atlas for help.
Here, you're... I don't think Atlas is very good at being help. Here, you're not supposed to have families with multiple parents. You have the one you start with.
Yeah, and then he goes and dies, and my mom chose someone else to take his place.
Oh, I don't know medieval regulations about if you're allowed to get remarried after your person dies. That probably is allowed, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
So Atlas is like nodding, like, I see.
It's like just a tinkling of a spoon against the sides of a mug. Well, man, I don't really want to probe too deeply on it, but what was it like getting to know your sister then?
I mean, we were both kind of young, so wasn't like we had already kind of formed our own opinions about ourselves. She's younger than me. I took care of her. Made sure nobody picked on her when we were in school. But it was a little rough at first, I guess. You know, stranger coming into your life. Not sure what they're gonna do or how they're gonna act. What they're gonna be to you. We figured it out, though.
Over like a few months or a few years?
I don't know, I guess it's a few years. We're still figuring stuff out. Especially after she came back.
That is difficult.
Yeah, life ain't always straightforward. You got the rough patches and the good spots. Though some of us get more as some than the other, I'm gonna be honest. Wandering life like mine, more rough patches, I'll be real, but not really person-based, more just indifference, if that makes sense. It's not, that people dislike you, it's just that they don't show up.
To your shows? They don't show up to your shows?
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
That's kind of the thing, right? I mean, I don't know, you ever seen like a traveling band of some kind?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, well, sometimes they play their music well and they can draw everyone around to them and get a lot of tips, but sometimes they just ain't so hot players, and so no one really gathers around and gives them the time of day. That's kind of like what it was.
I see.
Still, I think that's a lot easier to deal with than one very specific person showing up and being unpleasant, to put it lightly. He'll sort of nod over at Sol. But it does sound like you got something good out of it in the end.
Yeah. Sol's looking kind of pensive.
In the end. Delta's tapping his finger on the table, thinking about that.
You think this is the end?
I didn't want to say it at first, but I get the feeling it's a dream I'm not waking up from, so yeah.
Atlas, wide-eyed, like, what do you mean this is the end?
I mean, I think it's the end. Of everything.
This is a dream. And you're all lovely company.
There's a phrase out there that we have. What is it? Dreams of the little death, almost. Or sleep is a little death.
Well, I've never heard that saying, and I can't be dead.
That's fair. But, I think it might be easier to just consider it as a possibility. I mean, we can keep trying to thread things together in the meantime. I feel like I've got... He sort of taps his temple. There's a lot of things processing up here. I'm trying to piece it together, end to end.
For the sake of our dream, and not disturbing the peace of this dream, sure, we can talk about this hypothetical if we're dead.
Yeah, I mean... He just sort of gestures again. I don't know, I feel like at the end I did everything that I wanted to do, if that is the case, so...
I didn't.
That must be a nice feeling.
Oof. Yeah, I'm looking at you too, and I'm seeing two faces younger than mine, I'm gonna be real. He'll sort of reach out, and I think his coffee, he's kind of drained through it, and he's pulling over just that blue plate special. It's like just some hash browns, some bacon and eggs situation. Very salt of the earth kind of food. Nothing fancy. Things that keep you upright, but he'll reach over and just pour some hot sauce over it from vaguely off to the side of the table, just kind of basting everything in spicy red.
I think Atlas would hold out his plate like, what the hell, if it's a dream, may I try some of that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, please, by all means. He'll scoop off a bit. Imagine telling someone from the 1400s about hot sauce. This goes crazy.
Oh man, I'm gonna be rich.
I think Soul, like, reaches into her jacket and pulls out a knife and stabs a piece of ham on Delta's plate and just steals it and eats it.
Yeah, he's fine with that.
Atlas is flinches, like, are you always this violent?
Sometimes.
Yeah, you learn one way, you keep that way, right?
I see.
About to say it kept me alive, but maybe it didn't.
No, I'm sure it did.
Maybe. Could just be waiting for we're waiting for someone to pick us up too.
Atlas looks more worried.
Mm.
Shall I go ahead and draw?
Roll them bones or draw them papers, I guess.
Yeah.
Ace of spades. Oh, who wants to say it?
Peace with a stranger? Or do you mean me doing my best Motorhead impression?
Yeah.
The Ace of Spades! Yeah.
Peace with a stranger.
Swear I shuffled this deck.
I don't know. I just am amused because we've had a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, and an ace. And especially for poor Atlas, 3-2 ace. At least the suit changed. At least it wasn't also hearts in this case. That would have been uncanny.
I just don't know what to do for peace with a stranger. Maybe.
I mean, I've been using strangers like meeting a stranger who then becomes somebody in your life. But it could also be somebody that you just bump into and then they're gone.
No, maybe this was someone that Atlas met after, moving away from his original home, finding a new land to settle in. I had this, well, I guess you'd call him a teacher, but in my time, I don't think they're what you would consider a teacher. They specialize. They taught me my specialty. And I think Atlas, what would kill him fastest? What did he do?
Hello?
So I've been trying to figure out with, like, was he trained in fighting? Because he probably would have been expected to be. But I don't know that that's what he wanted. Yeah, so he trained me in, swords. I never really cared much, and he knew. He knew I didn't care about it, that it was just something I had to do. But I still tried, as much as I could. Lifts up a feeble, like, thin arm. Like,
Hey, sometimes it's about strength, sometimes it's just about knowing where to poke.
Soul scoffs.
true. They were They were smart enough not to try to do a broadsword type of thing. We did rapier.
Got opinions on that? And he'll look over at Sol.
I think she looks a little puzzled and is like, a blade's a blade, ain't it?
Well, sorta, but sometimes they're a lot more about putting your weight behind it, and sometimes it's just about poking the sensitive bits.
Yes, these are skinny blades.
Like a big needle.
Yes. Finally, a reference I understand.
Hmm?
I like to think in the end I wasn't too bad at it.
Sol raises her glass and says, well, here's to knowing how to handle a piece of steel with it's got a pointy end.
Thank you.
Sure, I guess it's universal enough. Delta will raise his cup. So at this point, I think, is it that everyone has gotten a meal of their choice now?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the layout? What's the smorgasbord? What's everyone eating here?
I think Kari's diner makes a mean Reuben.
Ooh. Love a Reuben.
Which is kind of funny for one character in the FTL verse, but I do think Kari's diner makes a mean Reuben, and that's what Sol has.
Yeah. I'm gonna bet it's like one of those ones where like the middle of the sandwich is just heavily full of like the kraut and the corned beef. And it looks like if you held it wrong, it would just like burst open, and the other half is like, it's like a sharp decline into the end of the sandwich. What's Atlas scrambled up from the kitchen?
Probably some eggs now with hot sauce. Which he's gonna trademark. Probably a side of, I think it's like a breakfast, like a side of bacon, some really nice looking toast that's like, looks like handmade bread.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I think in addition to the full diner special, Delta would have gotten like just one of your bog standard pancakes and poured syrup all over that sucker. It is drenched. It is sopping wet. Extremely unhealthy for your territory.
Fair enough.
Let's see what comes up card-wise. Wow, a lot of queens, huh? Queens of the Stone Age. I think as he's sort of cutting through, I just cannot emphasize enough just how sodden this thing is with like sugar syrup pancake. He's like, yeah, I tell you, really, perspective comes from the strangest places. You know, you learned your craft from just some teacher. It didn't sound like you were especially close to him, but they had a good working relationship, yeah?
We got there.
An understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's just a sort of a low point almost. Like I said, it's always been kind of a being on the road constantly. I know it wasn't exactly goods that I was selling, but I kind of understand your friend too. If you stay in one place, you're not really able to live, per se. It's difficult, right? So that was the same thing for me. I had to keep moving to keep myself on my toes and to keep myself paid and able to get about. So with the harder nights, I remember it was for a little while on the road, maybe about a few months or so, when I was doing shows up and down sort of the East Coast anyway. Wasn't that popular for a while, since it was totally out of the territory that I'd started on. This was maybe a few years after I started doing my thing professionally. But there was this one guy I remember. I don't know what it was, but something about what I was doing must have caught his attention, because I remember seeing him almost at every show for those few months or so. Like, and I was doing them weekends, maybe. It wasn't like, 5 nights only, see him at the MGM nearby kind of stuff. It was doing all of that, and then I'd be working whatever I could pick up in the meantime to just keep myself afloat kind of work. So even on low nights when I wasn't feeling so hot and like I didn't have the world in my hands kind of thing, I remember I could usually look out to the sides of the back of the room and just see him sitting there. And he wasn't always like watching closely. I think after a while he sort of knew the routine, but it's like a regular almost. I think if I hadn't had a feature like that sticking around for just those first few months getting set up, I don't know that I would have kept going down this path. I probably would have tried to do something more immediately, obviously magical. Never did get the guy's name, but I remember last time I saw him, at least, it was the first autograph that I signed, actually. He sort of traces out that signature, the same signature that's on the business card that he laid down a while ago, just with the non-pronged tip of the fork. The first time I'd ever written something like that. And I mean, I got to do it more since then, but I don't know, you always remember the first time someone remembers you kind of thing, right? I never saw the guy again, not for years.
Could be dead, who knows?
I don't know. He did show up at that last show, I remember. I don't know what it was. I guess I just put on enough sparks and excitement, but I just... somewhere towards the back when I was getting up on stage, sure, I didn't see my friend Alto, but I did see this one. I don't know. He did look a lot more tired, a lot older, a lot more gray, but it was a nice surprise. People just kind of shuffle in and out on you, you know? Never know when they'll show up, never know when they'll leave. But if you can hang on to them and start recognizing them, I don't know. You find support in strange places.
Atlas nods. Like, it helps to hear that this is more universal. Because we know what a universe is.
Soul's just sitting there not saying anything.
The clinking of silverware on plates as he just kind of looks over to Soul. I mean, you sound like you are even more vagrant than I was, I'm going to be honest.
You could say that. And I have drawn the 8 of clubs. Envy with a foe. This might be stretching the bounds of what a foe is, but I think Soul just kind of... she tilts her head to one side and then is like, yeah, but sometimes people waltz into your life and it isn't exactly good. I remember this one gal, don't really remember her name, and there's a little bit of hesitation there. I think it's entirely possible that Atlas or Delta can tell that she's lying about that particular tidbit, but she continues, gal got real chummy with a member of my crew, Carrie Castrol, and I'm glad she moved on. Just wasn't good for the crew, wasn't good for Carrie. And there's a little bit of heat to those particular words. And then Soul, like, takes an aggressive bite of her Reuben before she says, it's good riddance to bad rubbish the day she left, and it sucked picking up the pieces, but at least she's gone.
Sort of like twirling the fork between his fingers and just like raising an eyebrow at that one from Delta's end.
I think Delta may be canny enough to understand that there's like messy lesbian business afoot.
Yeah, he's just sort of like,
Unfortunately, Sol has a terminal case of messy bitch disease.
It's a variation on the Lynchian laughs but says nothing, where it's just eyebrows raised but says nothing.
Yeah.
And again, just sort of like shooting a look over to Atlas, like, again, get a load of this guy, Kim. I love that image so much. Can you tell? I gotta. It's the patter, right? It's a natural habit to want to comment on everything, but hey, I got a feeling there's some things you shouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
You're giving real I'm walking here vibes.
And I think I'm pretty good at doing that, so if you're doing that, then hell, what am I doing? I mean, he's like sort of like tapping the end of his fork on the table. Was picking it up just an emotional thing, or did they leave some kind of physical mess behind too?
Don't know which is simpler, the physical mess or the emotional mess. And then she scoffs again and is like, who am I kidding? Physical mess is always easier to pick up. But yeah, it was a little bit of both.
Oof. Yeah, and he'll give a little whistle. Yeah. Times like this, I was thankful that I was always a solo act, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, obviously, I worked with other mages with actual magical things, but when it came to my shows, it was just me and me up there. No one else to help. Sort of live and die on the individual talents kind of thing.
Must be nice.
Yeah, sorta. Until things go all wrong and it's just you have yourself to blame with. He's glancing over to Atlas again. I have to ask, out of curiosity, it sounds like you were pretty cozy, but did you ever get outside of your sort of personal bounds much? Like traveling about out of house and home?
I left my home, which is not something you would do often in my time.
He'll nod.
And traveled a long way to start anew.
Just sort of another raised eyebrow with a question that he would like to ask, but he's not sure where to start.
Let's just say my family and I didn't get along, and we're better apart.
I'm sensing a little bit of a theme here.
Please sense away.
Just, all of us had folks to leave behind, in some way.
True.
More permanently than others in a lot of cases.
How permanent could it be in a dream?
Something tells me we're all going to find out together at this rate.
Well, you all seem fine enough. I'm fine to find out with you.
Sure. I'm here until the meal's gone, at least, which, yeah, I ordered a little more than usual, but kind of feels like the time to do that kind of thing. Get a couple of things I never had before. Sort of close it out,
Yeah.
May I try something new with you?
Sure, if you'd like.
We don't get to try much new. Could kill you,
I guess, but yeah, this'll probably be your best measure. And he'll sort of like slice off a decent part of that, just, again, horrifically sodden pancake. And just plop it on a plate in front of Atlas.
Oh, this is familiar. We made cakes like this out of cornmeal.
Well, I can say safely this ain't that, but it might give you a few sparks in the mind. Sweet enough to rot your teeth and nothing less.
Well, thank God for that. I don't think Atlas has had sweet food like this. Like, not this sweet.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's absolutely like that extremely like super processed like sugar syrup kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It can't say it's maple syrup because it's not.
Literally, yeah. It's maple flavored. It's not even maple flavored. It's just like it's the cheapest diner syrup you could imagine, and that kind of stuff where it's just like, well, it wouldn't hurt if I poured on at least like 5 more tablespoons on top of this thing.
Atlas just like now very sticky, like, oh my. It might take some getting used to.
Yeah, just be careful. You might stick to your fork after that. Don't let it dry. It's kind of like glue.
Looking around the table for a glass of water now.
I mean, that vagrant life, though, is that what led you to your current residence? I guess your kitchen that we're sitting in right now?
I mean, I have found my home through coming here. This is where I came, and I haven't stopped. Or I haven't gone anywhere else.
Well, if you just remember sleeping before this, I mean, what do you remember before you got to the sleep, exactly?
I was making breakfast.
What kind of breakfast do you usually have? Do you have any company over with it, or?
No. No company.
Ooh, hard life alone, huh?
No, I like to start my day nice and quiet before I go out. Everyone is very talkative. I need a moment with just my books and me.
Settle in kind of thing. Okay. Sort of wake up for the day and don't think about folks yapping at you kind of thing.
Yes, precisely.
He sort of raps a knuckle on a deck of cards beside him. Yeah, I do know about that. Always had to kind of practice in the quiet and get used to it. Would you like to draw a card?
I was wondering. Yeah, okay, it is my turn to. Let's do that. Boom. It's a 7 of hearts.
The 7 of Arts.
Which is yet another family member. This one is rejection. No!
Cory.
This one... But you know, before I came here, I lived in a different village with my family. We didn't always see eye to eye, and they had plans for me that didn't fit what I wanted. And I'm sure with your reasoning, you can see how that's not something you get to do in this time.
I got a sense. A little bit of one.
So that's why I came out here. When I told them I wanted to be a cozy baker, a simple, quiet life, they'd just compare me to my brothers, fighting the good fight in the war, defending our land. This is sounding way too modern.
For king and country kind of thing, right?
Yeah. It came to... How you say it came to blows. Not actual. No one hit each other. It just... There was a bad argument, and I got the sense that the argument wasn't going to stop.
So they were trying to set you up to become a soldier or something?
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Any young, healthy man is supposed to.
Ooh, yeah. When you went far away, did you end up sort of leaving that too? Your country, not just your home?
I don't know. I think getting across water is very difficult, in this time. And I think maybe Atlas might be in somewhere completely new. And that also means no going back. Like, if you were lucky enough to survive the boat ride over, you're not gonna risk it and go back.
Oof. Yeah, long distances, I tell you. He'll sort of muse over it. It's strange. You kind of take things for granted when you can just fly over the sea and come back within, 2 days. It sounds like you would have been sailing over it, which would have taken months, right?
Yes, I don't know why I'm surprised by the fact that you can fly like a bird would.
Well, I mean, I'm not the one doing the flying. It's more like a big cart that goes over the sky with big wings.
I can't tell if that makes me feel better.
I mean, at least it's not that I'm up and growing wings, right?
Soul snorts.
I'll take that.
I hope so. He'll sort of, at this point, he's reaching the end of his plate. He's just sort of poking about at the last bits of bacon. As I pull a card forward and end up with the 6 of clubs. Frustration with a foe. Ain't that something? Yeah, I mean... Boy, arguments. It's not like I had too many of those since I flew solo a lot of the time. But there was a little period when things were all going wrong. The sort of thing where, I don't know, you kind of wonder how you got to that point, right? Hey, weird question to ask, but either you two ever dealt with what felt like the end of the world?
Maybe? What does the end of the world feel like?
A lot of things. I mean, there's the obvious, right? Like the dread, the fear. You know, everything's going to disappear in a snap, or you get to watch all of it get taken away from you. But also that sort of thing where it's like, I mean, how did you get here to begin with, right? What exactly is it that you did to deserve that kind of thing? Some great force out there that rips through and snags away everything that you ever knew. Just kind of leaves you with nothing. That's the kind of feeling that comes through. I don't know. It's one of those things where it just kind of he just gestures sort of for words, trying to find a specific. I mean, it puts things in perspective at the end, but it's one thing to face off against like a great force. It's another to be, I don't know, rivals with someone. That's more sort of what I'm thinking about now. Like, I remember facing a great, horrible thing, and it doesn't get stuck in my craw nearly as much as just leading up to the last few shows I was doing, I guess. See, where I'd set up out on the West Coast, it was like a Vegas situation sort of thing. And I remember I was performing at one joint, there was another one performing at another. And come to find out, I mean, this had been something we've been trading blows over with for a lifetime, more or less. He'd do one thing, I'd try and pick up on something and do it better, on and on and on. But at the end, sort of like it was copying my routine. Because we sort of reached a stagnant point where we just couldn't really outdo one another. What was his name? I think he even kind of styled it after me. I was Delta, he was Theta, or something like that. Never really kept a track of the stage name. To me, he was just Ron Jones.
What a interesting name.
It was early on, and I showed him a few things, and I don't know, maybe it's because he could never understand that I was actually doing real magic, but I guess I lit a fire in him that never quite went out, and he always kind of hung on my coattails. And he'll sort of like rub at his chin with that one. poor Ron. I mean, I guess now he's the one that won. But even now, something about that just kind of sticks at me.
I'm gonna draw a card.
Yeah.
2 of diamonds. Joy with a friend. It's kind of funny that that's coming, on the heels of the memory that Delta just shared. And I'm trying to think of some connective tissue for how this could have sparked. I don't know.
Speaking of the mess that you had to clean up, smile.
Yeah, I've got it now. I don't know. Soul kind of shrugs. Sometimes the people who piss you off turn out to be important when you least expect it. I remember when I first met Carrie, I thought, there's no way I can work with her. But for all the things about her that can get on my nerves sometimes, she's still... It's all kind of trails off, and again, there's the sense of messy lesbian business. I remember one time we were on a job and we were staking out the place, and it was real quiet, and I realized in that silence that maybe we didn't have to be at odds, And it was nice. I think about that moment a lot. But I'd say you can't tell anybody, but you can't tell anybody if this is the end like we're thinking. Or if this is a dream and you wake up wherever it is that you come from, it don't matter.
I would not want to tell anyone about the things that you all have said. It would be very bad for my ability to continue on.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know that most folks would believe this kind of thing, even if I told them point blank. Mostly just make a nice story for the diary. That's about the most of it. Because, I mean, time comes, we get up, we walk out those doors. Do we ever see each other again, you think?
Who knows?
Well, for your sake, I hope you run into that Carrie of yours again. Sounds like you got at least something of a good thing going.
Soul kind of gets red in the cheeks and is just like, we ain't got nothing going, but I hope I don't see her again anytime soon at this rate.
Yeah, fairly put. Or if you wake up in your bed, maybe. He shrugs. I tell you, yeah, that's one regret I have. I never really... I had friends, obviously. People that I worked with and I respected too, but... I don't know, when you're flying solo on the road so much, you don't really link up with anybody out there. Not for a long time, anyhow. Maybe spend a couple of nights and a couple of drinks together at most, but it's kind of smile and pass ways at the end.
Makes sense.
That sounds sad.
I guess. But what's it? Life's... I heard a saying once, it's every greeting has to come with a goodbye kind of thing. Eventually you just, let go. You don't see him again.
I'll keep that knowledge with me.
He'll nod and just sort of chomp up the last piece of his bacon.
I draw a card. Oh, for fuck's sake.
You can draw another card. If
You can draw
want.
another card. This is true.
I would love that. Okay,
Yeah,
something
please,
that's
by all
not
means.
hearts.
So many hearts.
Oh, 3 of diamonds. Diamonds is friend, 3 is joy. Well, if all people do have to leave eventually, had some good ones come through. I remember this one guy came through. He was a traveling bard. And those are just some of the he did one of the Wickermen. He stayed for one of those, and we danced around the fire to his songs. He always said he'd come back, and he'd always make his way back around eventually. But those are just always some of the happiest moments, listening to those songs.
Proper jigs, huh?
I guess this is a stranger who became a friend, but as a friend card.
No, that's fair. I mean, I get it, right? You meet people in circumstances you don't expect, and you just kind of hang on to them. And every time you start to see them around more, right?
Yes.
You ever do more than dance?
Did you ever do more than dance?
I dislike you.
I mean, it doesn't have to go that far.
I've done many things in life. I carve wood. I bake very well. I feel like I've done many things.
Oh, no. I mean, if I'm understanding the question right, it's not just dancing. I'm assuming that you meant more with them besides dancing. Was that right? He looks over to Soul.
Yeah.
I think this one's trying to get the hot tea off of you.
Oh, I could make you some tea. We're in my kitchen. I have tea.
It's a turn of phrase.
He's already making tea.
I think the question's more about what else did you do with this bard besides dancing?
Nothing. We were friends. He would pass along the tales from his journeys, even some good recipes.
Nice.
I always appreciated those.
Soul looks like disappointed in the way that somebody is disappointed that a story isn't interesting.
Oh. My boyfriend is the traveling sales guy, not the bard. You want me to fuck everyone?
There's a phrase in the business, you see, and Delta holds up his 2 hands. Some people have 2 hands.
I also do, looking at his hands, like, some people don't. There is old one-hand Joe. He lost his.
I mean, yes, it's more of a metaphor, but I think it's more of a... Yeah, it's not important. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, he'll sort of drain up the coffee and take the cup of tea in front of him instead. And I think it's about time to start considering the last memory, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point here, we take a look at that face down card and decide if that last memory is the one that the character actually carries through with them to the end. And if not, what do they think on? Either way, do they share it with other people? Do they just think about it privately? So, what I am pulling out is this. I got a 5 of spades sitting around in my hand. 5 of spades is disappointment with a stranger, and I think, the way things have been going, he's not exactly thinking about that. I think he is thinking about that last show of his, but it's sort of after talking through it and after going through the past and sort of ending up where he was, he's not really speaking about it more as he's just kind of gazing into the cup of tea. I think what it was for Delta is that last show, it just was, it's the worst thing, right? It's not a stranger, but it's a strange twist of fate. One of his spells must have just went wide. Those spark spells that I talked about when he was doing as a kid
Oh,
caught something on
no.
the stage and crash. It's the most ignoble end, but that's also showbiz in a sense. Just, sometimes it's just a big bang and a crash and things are suddenly over. And so
Wow.
he sort of like thinks about that as he's stirring his tea.
Oh.
I am going to pull out the Queen of Clubs. Queen is hope, clubs is with a foe. And I think Sol kind of takes the last bite of her Reuben and says, I think I know how I got here, and think I know how I'm gonna leave. And she's quiet for a second or two, and then she says, that last job didn't go very well, but I'm pretty sure Carrie and Max and Meryl got out. And that's all that matters. Hopefully I won't see any of them again anytime soon.
I hope time's all relative. But yeah, no, I understand the sentiment.
Let's see. So I've got 2 in here, so let me look at the first one. I guess I'll pull out the 10 of Spades, which is surprise from a stranger.
Wow.
I think things are starting to dawn on Atlas. So, you know what? This morning, I completely forgot. I had taken in a guest, just someone wandering through. I was making breakfast, became unusually tired, and put my head down on the table, and then woke up here with you all. I have this image in my mind of this person, this traveling stranger, standing before me as my eyes closed. I didn't think Atlas was gonna be fucking poisoned.
Wait.
Woof.
And Atlas is starting to get, maybe a little bit more worried looking. But, kind of shakes his head and shrugs, okay, well, sometimes that's just how things go, isn't it?
Yep. Bang, crash, oops.
Well, damn. I mean, the nice old lady across the street did always say that I shouldn't just let anyone come into my house like that.
I think Sol, in a fit of uncharacteristic compassion, puts a hand on Atlas's shoulder and is just sometimes you get hurt for letting people in, but that's just the way of it. Nothing we can do about it but keep going on.
I'm getting the feeling there's nothing I can do about it anymore. Well, alright. I guess whatever comes next it is. Damn.
Well, and he'll just sort of sit up and consider. Yeah, that is it, isn't it? Well.
Sol stands up and has a ticket in her hand, and she lets out a low whistle and is just got a pretty big tab. I better pay up.
Yeah, I think we're closing out for the night.
Well, thank you all for this lovely night of conversation.
Yeah,
In my house, I don't have a tab.
well, I guess you get to pay your own way, but Delta will and this just with a little bit of that magician's flair left. He'll pick up the business card he left planted on the table, and just it's like a trick shot situation. He'll spin it with his two fingers off to the side to land, like either right into or right in front of Soul's hand. If there is something after this, then I don't know. Look me up, and he'll put one over to Atlas too.
Once I figure out how to do that, I certainly will.
Sure. Yeah. He'll pick up his coat and then leave something different, which is just a really well worn and beaten credit card on the table. Yeah, I figure I won't need this anymore, so I'll just leave it to close out my tab.
This is my house.
And it's a diner for me, so just deal with it.
Wherever Cory is, I hope he gets a cut of this.
We'll find out, won't we? Or maybe we won't, but I think that's not the point.
I guess I know the ending. Does anyone want to?
I mean, if you got a strong motivation, go forward, go conquer.
Yeah.
Oh, because this is the only one that, like, Atlas is in his home.
Yep.
So I think it would just end, he would choose to walk out last, because he's like, well, this is my house. So once everyone else has walked out, he would, just kind of pause at the door, look back, and sigh before blowing out the candle and closing the door.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think for Delta leaving, it's just he pulls up his coat, pulls up his collar, leaves a signature on the yellow check on the table. And it's just exiting just as, just quietly. Not like he left life, but I think he's not resigned to it, but he's just reached a point where he figures, yeah, he's done everything that he's needed to do and that he's wanted to do, and he can just leave in peace.
Yeah. I don't know that Atlas is necessarily at peace. I think he's still sad. But also people didn't live as long back there. He's probably not as young as you think he is.
Hmm. How about Soul? How's Soul close out?
I think she reaches into one of her pockets, pulls out a wallet, leaves a handful of creds on the table. Not that she thinks that they'll do anything. That's not the kind of tab she was talking about, but she takes one last look at the diner and kind of nods towards the kitchen as though she's saying goodbye to someone and walks out the door.
Yeah, I think that's it. That camera sort of, as that candle gets blown out, as Atlas leaves, we're just left there in darkness. It's closing time, and everyone's left.
Man.
Yeah, diner at the end, huh? I mean, we knew what we were signing up for. It's a little melancholy, but...
Yeah.
We muse on these things because it is valuable.
Yep.
And it is always nice to sort of have a frame for that, too. I don't think this means our characters are dead for realsies, but, put this into the far future of whatever happens, and,
We can still play these characters.
We can still play these characters, please. Wait.
Yeah, you're not writing off your character.
No. But even still, it is a hell of a lot more pleasant than what happened to Twos.
Oh.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. Everything's okay.
That's good. I love when things are fine and okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also love when things are fine. Well, hot dang, yeah, that was a pretty good playthrough of a diner at the end. Yeah, and I love card prompt games. I'm realizing as we go through. I'm also kind of ramping back up because it's been a little while for me, but getting back into the mind space of just putting ideas out and having those prompts to work with and taking it in different things. It's such a nice framework for freedom, but also for not being totally lost.
Shall we do an outro?
Yeah, I think it's time. Well, folks, hot dang, that was pleasant. This is a reminder that was a diner at the end by Bamex Gaming. Do we have a link up for it? Is it on itch.io?
It is on itch.io, and I will put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, search it out. Take a look. See if you enjoy it. I mean, it's a nice experience here. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope everyone else did too. So please do consider it. I think I would recommend it. Again, just with the other stellar cast of games that we've played up so far and that I've been privileged to be a part of. But yet again, this is signing off. I was Cory. You can't find me except here with you, so please enjoy my presence as you have it. And with me today, I had August.
Hello, I've been August. You can still find me on Tumblr at Strange Harpy, or on Blue Sky at Harpydora, or on itch.io at Harpydora, for that matter.
And with me again was Annya.
I'm still Annya. Do not find me. If you find me, get out of my house.
As said before, you can find us on Tumblr, Blue Sky at FTLcast, and at FTLcast.com. Also, please take a look at the Patreon, patreon.com/FTLcast. There are other things that we do, like this. The primary feed's all GM-less stuff, but they get into more things. Like there's a whole Pathfinder game that's been ongoing. There's other material that's being recorded for more GM-based games too. This is a great cast of folks, and I like to listen to all of their things that happen, even just outside of the main feed. So please do consider going there, giving it a listen, chip in as you can, get the word out as you like. Tell your friends, tell your family, and please enjoy.
Indeed. Shall we clap?
It's clapping time.